What are the basic consumer rights in South Africa and to what extent are they applicable to telecom? The right to satisfaction of basic needs. Telecom is a secondary, acquired need. Therefore, this right is not directly applicable to telecom services. The right to safety. The consumers using telecom services need to know that the product they are buying is safe and user-friendly. The right to be informed. If a consumer asks telecom employees what exactly they offer and anything related to the telecom service, they have the right to know what they are buying and whether it will benefit their needs. The right to choose. If consumers choose a certain option of telecom services, they are allowed to stick with their option, regardless whether the employees recommend it or not. The customers also have the right to choose between buying or not buying any products or services. The right to be heard. If a consumer is not satisfied with the product, consumers are welcome to disagree. Telecom services should have an open ear about what the consumer has to say about their products or services. The right to redress. If a product or service is unsatisfying for a consumer, he or she has the right to return to telecom and let it be fixed, replaced, or returned for refund within a certain time period. The right to consumer education. Telecom should provide information to the public about their services in order to provide a broader spectrum of information to consumers, so that the consumers learn more about telecom and can make better informed decisions. The right to a healthy environment. Consumers want to step into an office or store that looks well managed and taken care of. If the environment is messy and thus unhealthy, consumers will more likely not come into the store, even if the service is good. This means that telecom needs to have a healthy working environment, friendly staff as well as an organized and clean store layout. Why must consumers be protected by law? Consumers need to be protected by law in order to promote and encourage a better social and economic environment in South Africa. All consumers, ranging from low-income groups to vulnerable consumers such as elderly and children, should have access to any supply or goods and know what they are buying. The products should be readily available at all times and follow all market conditions, including prices and trends. No products or services should deceive any consumers. Thus, it is important for the consumers to understand the information given on the products and the advertisements provided for these products. In other words, the businesses need to provide a fair and just trade practice, which protects consumers. This encourages consumers to make an informed decision, which results in a more confident, empowering environment and development of a culture of consumer responsibility through education and activism. To whom is the CPA applicable? And who is not protected by the Act? The Consumer Protection Act applies to all South African consumers and businesses. However, there are some exceptions to the Act regarding people who are not protected by it. These exceptions include goods and services supplied to the state and to businesses whose annual turnover equal or exceed the threshold values at the time of concluding the agreement. Also, services and goods supplied outside of South Africa, relating to a loan, or something not ordinarily supplied to a business as well as if the CPA exempted it, are people and businesses that will not be protected by this Act. Who is the consumer according to the CPA? According to the Consumer Protection Act, the consumer is any person to whom goods and services are marketed. The consumer may also be a user of the supplier's goods, and enters into a transaction with the supplier or service provider of any services and products. Who is the supplier? The supplier is anyone who provides goods or services to the consumer. In this case, the supplier is telecom. What is a transaction? A transaction is an agreement between the supplier and consumer for the supply or potential supply of any goods or services in exchange for consideration. What is direct marketing, and what rights does the consumer have with regards to direct marketing? Direct marketing is when products or services are sold directly by the owner to the public consumer without an intermediary. Schneider, 2018. This means the business communicates with the consumer through mail or telephone selling. With regards to direct marketing, the consumer has the right to restrict any unwanted marketing. This means that the consumer is allowed to accept or reject a product or service. He or she is also allowed to bring another person into account in order to discontinue the service, and the consumer is also allowed to block any communication regarding direct marketing, if it is not in person. What does the right to privacy entail with regards to the consumer and direct marketing? If a consumer has been approached for direct marketing, the consumer has the right to refrain or stop the communication, or block any communication primarily done through direct marketing. The marketer should implement appropriate procedures to help consumers who reject the service and ensure that any person associated with the direct marketing procedure acknowledges the consumer's choice to stop or block further communication without accusing or charging the consumers for demanding the communication to end. What are the rights and responsibilities of consumers regarding fixed-term contracts? If a transaction or consumer agreement is for a fixed time period, the fixed term may not be exceeded. If the consumer, however, wishes to cancel the agreement at the time of the expiry of the fixed term or at any other time by giving the supplier a 20 days written notice, or if the supplier gives the consumer a 20 days notice due to a faulty item, no penalty will be charged, unless the consumer has rectified the fault. Even though the consumer has the right to cancel any agreement with a written notice, he or she will still be held liable to the supplier for all the outstanding amounts owed in terms of that agreement until the date of cancellation.